Hey guys, how you doing? Ronson here. Well, today I've got a couple of fans that I'm looking to put in my new build, and they both come pretty highly rated, but I wanted to add them to the fan roundup of testing that I've done. So what we're going to do is we'll take a look at each of them individually and open the box up, see what comes with them and some of the features per the packaging. And then I'm going to put it to the test. We'll run them on the same system at a 4.3 overclock, and then again at a 4.6 overclock to see how well they perform at a medium and a pretty heavy overclocking and performance wise. We'll also record audio so you can hear how quiet they are on the test bench, and I'll also put the link up to the other fan testing that I did so that you'll see the how they compare to them. Okay, for the NoiseBlocker BlackSilentPro PL-2 fan, packaging on the front shows highlights a couple of key things here. It talks about that it has a 500 and 200 millimeter length set of cables, and it includes some silent frame and some screws. That it has a low starting voltage, and it comes with a 6-year warranty. Let's see on the side, just some information for the company. Basically just the model number information on this side, and on the back here's where the technical data is. We have here, it's a 120 by 120 by 25 millimeter fan. So it's a 120 by 120 by 25 millimeter fan. The key piece is 12 volts. The rated voltage is 4.5 volts. I guess that's the startup voltage. And key things to note: it's 1400 RPM fan, plus or minus 10%. The current draw is 5 milliamps, and static pressure on this fan is 1.269, and the airflow is 56.5 CFM. Now this fan is also rated at a very quiet 11 dB, but again, in my opinion, it's all subjective. So packaging does show that it is a very quiet fan, and we'll check that out for ourselves. Now let's take a look and see what we have on the inside. Inside the package, I took out the hardware that comes with it. There are 4 screws, and there's also, it's unique, there's little, they're like shoulder washers. Those are all rubber shoulder washers, and also these are thumb screws, or thumb nuts, if you will, to tighten them down. So that's unique. Usually you just get the case style screws in most fans, and but not here. Here you've got a good set of screws that you typically would think would come with the radiators, but and some thumb screws and some rubber washers. Inside with the fan we have a this is the 200 millimeter cable, so, and also a 500 millimeter cable, all sleeved, shrink tubing, and even the cabling was all the way at the end where it's soldered is all covered with heat shrink tubing. But nice job on both of these cables, quality job. You get a nice solid NoiseBlocker badge, and there also comes with a isolation or vibration dampening frame that you can put on the fan. And then the fan itself is a 7-blade design, all black. One of the things that is nice is having those cables allows you, especially when you put them on radiators, to be able to dress them any way you want. So they have just a stub that comes out here, a little pigtail. I still would like that if they would at least make these, put some sleeving on that. There's plenty of room to put sleeving in there to have it be black, but overall it's a nice looking fan, and has the part number and logo on that side. It's all solid construction. You can't take this fan apart at all. It's all molded, hard molded plastic. In the Enermax cluster packaging, we have some logos near the top that highlight a batwing design, the Enermax ring, halo ring, and that there's LED lighting with this fan, and that it's a 1500 RPM. On the back, some of the features that it mentions on the packaging: twisted bearing design, twister bearing design technology, bat wing blades, patented modular frame, high brightness on the LED, and that the fan blades are detachable for easy cleaning. And then down in the details shows the speed 1500 RPM plus or minus 10% with a 12 volt rated voltage. Input current on this shows it's 0.4 amps. Airflow 121.05. Static pressure 1.676. And then it rates it at mean time between failure to 100,000 hours. And then it does show that it is a 1x3 pin connector, and it states that there's also an adapter in the package. So let's take a look now on the inside. For the Enermax, it comes with a Molex to 3-pin adapter cable, and also your typical standard self-tapping screws, case screws for your fan case. And the cluster fan, as you can see, is all white. And it comes with a nice long sleeved in white with white heat shrink tubing cable. The cable on the other side is silver, so that's nice. Not the black and white, and it would have been cooler still if they would have sleeved it, but that does not draw any attention to it, so that looks pretty good. It has the Enermax halo, all ring around it, which will be illuminated by lights. There's little lights in each of the corners here. There's LEDs that come with the Enermax fan. And the frame is a modular frame, and you can actually disassemble. You can take apart the complete frame. So it's not solid like the other fans. It's very light. And also the blades. These are the bat wing blade design. You can see the crease towards the center, and there are 9 blades, and they say these fan blades can be removed, and they can. You pull it right out. Here's the spindle. There's the motor right there. So and then you snap it back in. And then on the back side, of course, we just have the Enermax logo with the part number. That's it. So let's see how well this fan performs under a mid-level and high-level overclock. Okay, so for each of the sets of the fans, I'm going to be running OCCT 4.3.2 is the version I have going right now. I will be running each of the fans at a 4.3 overclock for 30 minutes. And I will do that at least 3 times, and then again I'll run it at a 4.6 overclock, and the same thing. I'll be doing that at least 3 times for both sets of fans. I will then be documenting it. We'll verify the overclock setting using CPU-Z as well. You can see that the core voltage at the 4.3 overclock I have here is 1.382 with the line load calibration. That is dropping it down because it's 1.4 in the BIOS, and then you'll see the core speed at 4.3 is based on a 43 multiplier at 100 bus speed. So that's how I do this. You'll see a table that shows the overclock settings for both the 4.3 and the 4.6. And then when everything's all said and done at the end of each of those runs, I'll be documenting the core temps at the end of the 30-minute period, and then taking that to help identify and determine what our delta T is for each of them. Then I'll put it in a table, and you will see the results and how these fans compare to all the other fans that I've done in the testing using the exact same test setup. So with that, let's take a look at the results. The testbed setup is based on an Asus Rampage 3 Black Edition motherboard. The CPU on it's an Intel i7-990X with 12 GB of Corsair GT Dominator RAM, 2000 MHz triple channel memory. The GPU is a Zotac GTX 560 Ti. The boot disk is a Vertex 320 GB SSD. Fan controller is a Casimaster Pro. There's a CPU block, which is a Coolance CPU 370, and I have Coolance quick disconnects fitted on there, so it's easy to move things around on the test bench without having to completely drain a loop.
I have an XSPC X20750 reservoir pump combo. The radiator is an XSPC RX360. The power supply is a Corsair HX1000 with Windows 7 64-bit and full service pack 1 on there. And then all of this is built on and into the Demus Tech test bench Table Easy version 2.5. So that's the setup for doing all of the testing. This is the same setup I use for quite a few other fan comparison tests. And now before we get into showing you the overclock settings and actual benchmark results, let's have a listen to the fans. I did audio recordings of the fans, so they are configured in a pull configuration on the radiator. The microphone is set in the same spot as I've set for all the other fans that I've tested to keep it consistent, same distance away. And I have it recording for 15 seconds. So coming up here, you'll listen to both the Enermax cluster fan and the NoiseBlocker PL-2 for around 15 to 20 seconds. And then following that, we're going to get into the overclock settings and then the results of those overclock tests with these fans. So let's have a listen. Okay, and now you had to listen to the fans. Let's talk about the overclock settings that are used before I show you the results of the testing. The fans were in pull configuration, as you saw on the radiator. I used OCCT 4.3.2 as the overclock checking tool for overclock stability to get the system running. And I ran it for at least 30 minutes. They ran each set of fans each time 30 minutes. I let it cool down at least 15 minutes in between tests. Then I did it at least 3 times, and I took the median value for the tables that you'll see the results in. The temp measurement tool that I used was Core Temp 1.0 release candidate 4, and I know OCCT does record and has temperatures listed there for the cores, but when I first did the original testing, I used Core Temp, so in order to maintain consistency, I thought it was important to use that still. And also, if you actually run some of these programs like Real Temp or Core Temp, you'll see that there is some variation in the measurements that they provide. So I use the same one. And then the CPU verification tool is CPU-Z standard. This is version 1.59. Now the overclock settings, I set them in the BIOS. I did have profiles already configured for these, so I didn't have to tweak anything. But the 4.3 overclock was with a 1.4 V-core, base clock 100, and the multiplier 43. Then when I ran the 4.6 overclock, I had that V-core at 1.55, base clock at 167.5, and the multiplier at 28. So here we have results of the testing of the fans. For the NoiseBlocker BlackSilentPro PL2s, I have here a table that shows a 4.3 and a 4.6 overclock, all 6 cores. I recorded temps at idle before I ran the testing, and then again at the end of the 30 minutes, and have the total, the average temp, the ambient in the room at the time, and the delta. And then for the 4.6 overclock, same thing, the total, average, ambient, and the delta T. And so you see for the 4.3 overclock, we had under load a 37.3 delta T, and then under the 4.6 a 48.3. For the Enermax cluster UCCl12N fan at 4.3 overclock, we had a 27.3 delta T under load, and on the 4.6 we had a 44.2 delta T under load. So how do they compare between each other and other fans? Here is a summary of all the results of all the fans that I've tested over time. I have the manufacturer, the model number, the RPMs for that fan, the airflow, the static pressure, and then the results of the overclocking. Now here I have it sorted by best performance in the 4.3, and then what I did is the ones that are in bold, basically if the result was within a degree of each other, that could be in the margin of error. This is not a laboratory scientific setup, so I think if you're within a degree, that's pretty damn good. So these guys all did about the same, these first four here, with regard to idle. But then when you went under load, you'll see that the Enermax actually did quite a bit better. That was, what do you got? 5 degrees almost, yeah, 5 degrees better than the XSPC Cerulean here. So 27.3, and then the noise blocker did about as well as the Bit Phoenix. So it was at the highest here, so by almost 10-degree difference at the 4.3 overclock. Now on the 4.6, the Cerulean XSPC fan had 40.1, and then the Scythe Gentle Typhoon of 40.3, and then you had the Acoustic. You had a whole bunch of them in here that are all within tenths of a degree, so they're all perform about the same, and that's where the Enermax fell with regard to the 4.6 overclock. And the noise blocker, surprisingly to me, fared the worst. So now, of course, when you take a look and see, the fans that seemed to do the best were the ones that had the highest RPM, and in most cases, and the best static pressure. Obviously, the Acoustic was a slower fan, and it had decent airflow, but it also had the highest static pressure, so that one actually came out pretty well here. But the noise blocker, and I ran the test actually more times. I ran it about, there's a total of 6-7 times, and it was consistent. I really thought it would perform better. Anyway, I was surprised to see that. But so far, of all the fans that I did running that test setup, again, this is not a laboratory setting. These are the results that I had. With heavy overclock, it is a pretty strong performing fan, but it is loud. So go back and check out my other fan results test, and you can get a listen to them and see what you think. So all of these fans on this heavy load, actually, all these ones, the ones in the middle here, did pretty well. By a couple degrees, these two, the Scythe and the XSPC, were a little bit better based on my test results. All right, and underneath a medium overclock, so if you're not running something heavy duty, you will get great results also with those same fans, but the Enermax did well in my testing. And then here, finally, in a summary, I have those same fans. They're not listed in any particular order, just I think as I originally tested them. Again, the model number, the RPMs, the airflow, the static pressure they provide. I bolded the highest and the lowest temperature readings on here, and then I showed here at the bottom what the range was. So between all these fans, this gives you, the range in this area here in temperature, and then also here I put in cost. And actually, the ones that I just did is as of November 23rd, 2012 for the Enermax and the noise blocker. Those are the prices at this time. But back in September when I did the first set, the most expensive was the Noctua NFF12, and the Cerulean 1650s were the least expensive fans. And so you saw an $18 range there. And then this portion of the table I just show what they came with, if they had screws for mounting, if they had any special anti-vibration pieces in their kit, if they had reducers. Some fans had reducers to have them spin at a fixed speed if you didn't put them on a fan controller. Also, a couple of fans were PMW. I didn't show that on here, but that's the Noctua and the Acoustic. And then other adapters, if there was anything else added in the kit, like long extensions or other power adapters, I listed that here as well. So bottom line is I added them to the table. The I was surprised the NoiseBlocker didn't perform as well performance-wise in my test, although I think they're probably the quietest fan between them and the Casas. If you listen to them, they're pretty quiet. So I have to say that on the noise front, they're good. If you're having a basic overclock on, they're probably going to be good. But if you're going to have an aggressive load, there are fans that perform better, and that Enermax is one of them. It did pretty well. It was like in the middle of the road when it came um, to the heavy overclock. The ones that did the best were the Cerulean and the Scythe, but the Enermax was loud. So to me, I have to think about using that fan. But I think if you have it on a fan controller and you have a fan that or a fan controller that can control the speed of your fan automatically, like an Aquaro, that may not be an issue. If your system's not being taxed, it can spin it, dial it down so it's quiet. And then if you're running it heavy duty, like if you're gaming or doing something that's, you probably have music blasting and the sound is not going to be that big of a deal, or you have headphones on. So anyway, so that's the summary of the results with the Enermax cluster UCCl12N fan and the NoiseBlocker BlackSilentPro PL-2 added. Again, this is just my testing. You saw the test setup, and it's kind of a real-world test here. I don't have any, controlled environments or anything, but I was interested over time. All of those fans have been rated quite high, and people use them, so I thought it would be a good thing to go through that kind of a test setup, and that's what I did. And now, as I get other fans in that people talk about or new releases, I like to try them and add them to the test roundup that I've done. So I hope you liked it. I hope it was informative. If you did, please like and please favorite. And if you're so inclined, please subscribe. That's it from Ron to Nut. Thanks for watching.